lengthy speech, I'm going to have to take some paragraphs out. But luckily, unlike the Prime Minister, I have numbered my sheets. So my version's to Peppa Pig. I get lost. Richard Merrick Penrose. A physical Hercules, rugby ace, Formula One designer par excellence. Quiet. TA soldier, motorcycle scourge of Thames Valley Police traffic unit. Loyalist to friends, eldest son, heir to the Penrose dynasty, brother and now husband, a Victor Ludorum of our time. Any one speech is simply not going to do justice to Dickie's many achievements, his character traits, and his experience. But I think there are three defining aspects that we will all associate with Dickie, which I will give some anecdotes and further exploration of. They are creativity, charm, and action. So starting with the creative Dickie. Being the son of an esteemed architect, the Norman Foster of Exeter, husband of the Lionel Logue of Exeter, Dickie grew up surrounded by the paraphernalia of this profession, so funny shaped rulers of units nobody understands, paper that always curls up, and incredibly sharp compass points. Added into this was a childhood for Dickie growing up among Janet and Ian's ever-changing collection of motor cars, motorbikes, and most financially expedient of all, the yachts. So one can see how Dickie developed his early interest in the design and construction of objects of motion. A litany of Egley Vincents, Audi Quattros, Jaguars, a funny noisy wooden car called a Morgan, a sidecar that we rode in bicycle helmets, and a yacht, which I had the ignominy of cleaning my own vomit off as we arrived back in there. After what Ian termed a gentle afternoon on the water, which it certainly was not. All these vehicles and vessels, and the time spent preparing, and briefly thereafter enjoying, were the genesis of Dickie's later very successful career in industrial automotive design. A nascent skill that was much in evidence at school, where instead of defacing his Latin textbook, the Ecce Romani, with pencil fallacies, or Cornelius, which the rest of us did, Dickie could be found adding a racing car to the Circus Maximus, and adding a Vendée Globe yacht to a trireme battle. So the die was cast early at this stage, design and build giving order of the day. Now there was an aversion to the art side of education, and this was demonstrated during prep school theatre productions where, despite Dickie having no favourite audience, his leading roles have played a donkey that coughed gold when its tail was pulled, abandoning the stage altogether, he took charge of the lighting, which was fine, save for a thunderstorm scene during which Dickie's vigorous use of all the switches led to an epileptic fit-inducing strobing and producing an experience akin to an Ibiza nightclub and not a school play. This aside, Dickie was a solid performer and naturally excelled at art, DT and rugby, to which we will turn later, but also in the Sea Cadets and the Navy Combined Cadet Force, and he could regularly be found on a Friday afternoon navigating a group of young cadets perilously close to the weir on the River Exe. There was also a brief indulgence in creative writing, where aged 15, the English class was asked to write a piece entitled The Hunter. Dickie's efforts here were of such literary surprise that he was asked to read this creation aloud. And so, blissfully unaware, he proceeded, to a stunned audience of 15-year-old boys, to read the immortal lines which I will repeat and committed to remember it from the day itself. And here goes, age 15, unaware of the nuance. Shaft in hand. The hunter slowly moved forward and parted the bush to reveal the placid animal waiting. With all his might he thrust the spear deep into the flesh, inducing an almighty squeal. And so it went on. Alas, no literary career followed. Following what could most generously be described as a brief interregnum of academic fervour during the sixth form, obscured largely by a cloud of white smoke, Dickie resumed his creative journey in gusto, undertaking a foundation year in automotive industrial design in Coventry, followed by a very successful number of years on the degree course at that city's university. It was also here that I first experienced a handbrake turn at speed in a moving car, with old blue Citroen, which was, in Dickie's words, for putting aerodynamic theory into practice. There was a succession of design and test scores in various Formula One teams, for which I don't really understand, but maybe someone else can give an interlude later. Dickie always managing, I remember this, to judge to perfection when best to move on, either before the team teetered on the edge of financial oblivion, or when he sensed his skills are not being truly appreciated. So despite the periods of intense activity and long hours the Formula One racing calendar imposes, Dickie has made the job work for him. And I have it on good authority that some of the world's leading Formula One teams have had to delay the rollout of their new cars because the wind tunnels and titanium mills were occupied making and testing unusual motorbike parts and peculiar shelving units. And that everybody in the industry turns a blind eye to that is proof of the respect and affection with which Dickie is held in the workplace. It's a measure of Dickie's passion for what he does and his sheer capacity of effort that he continues to thrive and rise in what is an incredibly competitive industry. And whilst he now prefers to tinker with his bike in the shed rather than watch races, there is no question that he continues to play a real part in the evolution of Formula One. Charm. Dickie is charming in the right way, a true gentleman, always quick to offer assistance to those in need, courteous, just, and not self-righteous. But first and foremost, he engages with everybody as an equal, without hesitation and lacking any pretense. This is one of his absolute standout attributes, and as we have all witnessed, his ability to raise a smile or just get a response from the most miserable and even wretched person is unmatched. It is this aspect that people warm to so quickly. Be it the head of design at one Formula One team, who following an interview watched Dickie reverse straight into a barrier in the office car park, but in spite of this still gave him a job. The geography teacher at school, whom he tormented mercilessly, yet was sad to see him leave. The numerous work placement interns at Formula One team, who have been used as whipping and T-boys. Or the 6'7" Polish brute who walks his dog around Evesham, whom is transformed into a humble, giggling boy when Dickie hails him from across the road and sweeps through traffic with an enormous dog to chat with him. Dickie's charm also delivers that most beneficial of attributes, and that is the ability to extricate himself from a tricky situation utterly unscathed, and normally the better off for it. For example, he managed to pacify a whole busload of passengers, and indeed my mother, when he arrived at my house by bus from Exeter, aged 13, carrying a sports bag that very obviously had the barrel of an air rifle shooting from underneath a peaceful curtain. He deployed this charm to magnificent effect when, aged 14, he explained to the local police officer who had arrived at my house when my parents were out to investigate reports of gunfire that what the neighbours had in fact heard was just merely a couple of thunder flashes that we had launched from a clay pipe to recreate a mortar. With a roll of the eyes and a polite bit of constabulary guidance, the matter was taken no further. More recently, whilst in a former Formula One team, Dickie's antics in joyfully engaging light banter, for intern, got into a bit of hot water. But alas, Dickie uses charm and wit to penetrate the HR team, and the matter is action man, Dickie. Penetrating with his shaft. Never mind this is about. My earliest recollection of Dickie's physical power in action was at Exeter Cathedral School, the quiet school that we were so brutally chastised for earlier. You tried going into a quiet school. When Dickie justifiably cast a a very irritating boy across the wet changing room floor like an ice hockey puck. This was a brilliant school career marked by his physical endeavour, be it rugby, cricket, hockey, canoeing, attempting to give the old Royal Marine PE master a run for his money in the sixth form gym, or one of his favourite lunchtime field games, the British Bulldog. But it is rugby that perhaps defines Dickie's love of action. Rugby was, and still is, his great love, other than Sarah of course, and his reputation as a team player was fearsome, more of a water buffalo than a gazelle, and inevitably one of the forwards on account of his sheer size and power. Appearances part of the first 15 cemented Dickie as one of the jocks. Never would Dickie become an in-betweener, like me. Oh no, his love of ritual nakedness and changing room antics drawn from the pages of Lord of the Flies marked out Dickie as one of a kind. When a serious and enduring injury to his foot prevented Dickie from continuing the TA, and more regrettably from completing the TA All-Arms Commando course, for which he had been selected, and that is no mean feat, Dickie simply focused his attention to other fulsome physical exertions, such as American football, which saw him travelling the country with all manner of bizarre equipment and some quite appalling lycra breeches. Sport aside, sporting endeavour aside, weekend and holiday for Dickie entail action. Playing with the bikes in his shed, building sheds, satisfying Ian's fetish for free-flowing inland watercourses with extensive leaf-clearing activity at Redlands, hurtling about on his motorcycle, hoping all his prior work had actually been performed correctly, embarking on a somewhat homoerotic massage course, riding a push bike, always an amusing sight, or improving the new home he and Sarah now share. There is the old saying that life is what happens when you're making plans, and whilst this may apply to many, it does not to Dickie. He is living life every day, every week, every month, and every year, and one that is overwhelmingly marked by action, creativity, and positivity. And it is into that most brilliant life that he is now formally enjoying Sarah. I shall end. Look it up later. Grammatically correct, despite being turquoise. I shall end by saying a few words on what I consider to be one of Dickie's most remarkable and wonderful qualities. And that is his approach to his relationship with Sarah, the sanctification of which we celebrate today. It's another one for you. For those who have not known him as well or for as long as I can tell you that Dickie is the embodiment of chivalry. A man who truly respects, adores and cherishes the women he loves. He has never objectified women. He has always seen women as companions and a partner in life's journey. Never possession and never a trophy. The differences between men and women are not for Dickie a source of frustration or complaint, but they are the essence of what he loves. I can see that in his union with Sarah, there is balance, love, enchantment, respect, and most visibly joy. And it is that joy that I should like to celebrate now by raising a toast to my most enduring and best friend, to Dickie, the new Mrs. Penrose, the heir to Penrose family, to Dickie and to Sarah.